And we're here live from the 7th BeyotaCon. Stuka Joe here. Today is January 26th, second day of the convention. It is, I don't know, let me see what time it is here. It is 11:49 a.m. and this is Spanish time, Badajoz time. So that's 5 hours later than the east coast of the United States. And we will be taking a look at a game that interested me last time I came, well, two years ago. They had it here and they have it again. It's a game about the Rift War. So you can see we have a full house here. All the companies that are sponsoring the event are here. We had Headquarter Games just arrived. Those are the tables in front. So this is the main hall. There's two more places or spaces. And so we will be going over to where Mr. Negrete is. So let me just do a little change here. Okay, so now should be a little bit smoother. So let's go over to where he is. Estamos aquí. Déjame yo poner esto por aquí. Sí, estamos bien.
Aquí da menos luz.
Okay. Yo brego con eso. Si puedes echar el mapa un poco, entonces te voy a dar un micrófono. Este que te lo clipeas ahí a... ¿Y dónde está el...? Acá, ok, estamos.
Tiene una pinza, eso es.
Sí, una pieza que quede así para arriba apuntándote a ti.
Ahí, ¿verdad? Ahí ven.
Que quede... Ahí está apuntando hacia el lado, porque es la parte de arriba.
A ver. Pero igual aquí mejor. Ahí estaría.
Se me está cayendo.
Probando.
Por alguna razón aquí se caen los frames.
Se cae.
Ok, pero déjame ver si puedo hacer algo. Le voy a dar pausa un momento. Ahora yo creo que estamos mejor. No se ha caído nada por ahora, vamos a ver.
Sí, aguanta.
Ahí está. Y vamos a probar aquí. Ok. Esta cámara está apuntando para el lado. Pero hay otra forma.
Ah, cómo se mueve, 360, 360 grados.
Ahí. Vamos a ver si ahí tú sales.
Ahí bien.
Ok. Y estamos aquí. Ok.
Probando, ven, el sonido bien.
Muy bien, voy a poner la cámara súper ancha aquí para que se vea más. Ok. So we're here with Luis.
Negrete.
Negrete Leal, ¿verdad?
Eso es.
And he's from Santander. I met Luis 2 years ago at the 5th BeyotaCon. And you showed me this game. This game is in the P500 for NAC Wargames. And it's a game that interested me very much because there are not many games on the Rift War.
The Rift campaign.
Rift campaign. So So Luis,
1921.
okay, what's the name of this game?
The name is Tributo de Sangre. The
Okay,
name.
that means tribute in blood.
Tribute of Blood. Yeah,
Blood.
Tribute of Blood. Puede ser, maybe.
Let me get this. The way the cable is showing. Okay. So this is a two-player game, right?
Yeah, it's two-player game, CDG game,
Okay.
with mechanics similar to Path of Glory, similar to Crusade and Revolution, activate spaces, activate zones, areas of the map, and something similar to counterinsurgents war. Not coin exactly, because coin is more euro mechanic. This is a war game, a net war game, but it has mechanics similar to Path of Glory or for the people, action cards, action points, and events. And it's a campaign of counterinsurgents. It's an irregular war. We faced an army, the Spanish army, against the tribes of the Rif. The Rif is a region in the north of Morocco, and they are indigenous, no? Tribes who fight for a loot, sack and loot. They try to sack and loot spaces to obtain resources.
So this is a conflict that is not widely known in the United States. So it took place during which years?
It took place during 1921 and 1922.
Okay.
In the post First World War. No?
And this is in what was called at the time Spanish Morocco.
Okay, a colonial war, a colonial struggle. Spain has the mission of a protectorate in this zone, sharing the Moroccan colonial civilization with France. France was the nation who has the mission of civilize and pacify the south of Morocco.
So Morocco, it was a protectorate. One part of Morocco was in the hands of the
south
French.
For France, the north
and the north
for
was Spain. So this is the rebellion that took place in the northern region, right? In the Rif, and the Rif is a mountainous terrain. It has a lot of mountainous terrain there.
Mountain terrain, terrible, very dry. This this period was in summer, July and August, and beyond, and it was 50 grades, 57 grades of temperature.
That's centigrade.
40, 50 centigrades.
It's like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So in this game you have the Spanish. This is a very asymmetrical game, right?
Yeah.
Because in the way that the units operate, and it is noticeable.
Yeah, the Riffians wants to create chaos, and the Spanish has the mission of control the chaos and establish the positions, defend the positions, and try to control the rebellions.
And let me just move the camera over here just a second. And see if I can get rid of the glare. Okay, now it's better.
The main difference with another games is that the Riffian rebels move from one area to another area inside the zone,
Okay.
while the Spanish army moves across the spaces. So it's a dual war between inside the region, inside each zone, and the travel across the spaces with a movement very difficult for the Spanish people, Spanish army.
So we see, for example, there's these red lines that denote, they denote what?
Those are the divisions of the regions. Each region is called Kabila.
La Kabila.
In
Okay,
Russian language.
That.
Each Kabila has a limit.
Within each Kabila, you have
Spaces.
Spaces.
3 types of spaces.
Okay.
The playing spaces, the mountain spaces, and the forts or the towns, okay,
Forts and fortified towns.
Forts,
and you said this is like the regular
open terrain
and mountainous terrain.
without infrastructure, and this is the square spaces are camps.
Okay. And so the Spanish moved from point to point from these spaces, right? From space to space.
Correct.
And the Riffians, they moved from Kabila
To Kabila.
to Kabila. Okay.
And the Spanish army is aquí is to conserve, to defend the square spaces, because the square spaces has the resources, has the loot, no? Loot, botín.
So the Spanish are really like spread out thin on the map because they have to defend these square spaces, which are the forts. And I remember you recommended me a book, and I read the book. It was very interesting.
There are several books.
So the Spanish were in the civilizing mission, so they decided to march their army and spread it out through the Rif in different outposts. And by doing so, they spread out really thin.
Yeah.
So when the Riffians attacked, they just took them. There were positions that were practically wiped out completely, right?
Yeah.
That's what they call the desastre de Anual. But Anual was just one of those.
Anual
places.
is one of these squares spaces. This is the main camp of the Spanish army in this period. Anual is here.
Yes.
In the real war, the Riffians managed to assault Anual, besiege and assault Anual, and provoke the dispersion and retreat of the Spanish army in a
And it was
very hard
It was
retreat.
like what they call a rout, right?
Disorganized groups, and they has to retreat till this town
They were looking for the safety of Melilla, right?
near Melilla. Melilla was the main base, the main port in the zone. It's the supply main point. Melilla. It's a port.
So,
The Spanish army received reinforces across Melilla.
hello, Magnum from Sweden. Okay, Magnum is always there.
From turn 3 and beyond, the Spanish army received reinforces, important reinforces from the peninsula, from the Spain, the main Spain.
And they all come through Melilla.
And they embark in Melilla.
So you have the different types of spaces on which the units operate. The Riffians, they move from Kabila to Kabila, which are these areas denoted by red borders. The Spanish units move from point to point, from space to space, so they are more restricted, right?
It's a kind of campaign, irregular campaign, with a cat against the mouse,
Yes.
cat against the mouse, and two roles to adapt for each side. The Spanish army has to search and destroy, a typical mission of search and destroy.
Yes.
And the Riffian, they try to hit and run, no? hit and run.
And just to give the viewers an idea, let me take a sample unit here. We see this one. This is the destacamento, and it has like the number on the right. What is that number?
The number, the right is number of unit. And number is the size of the unit.
Size of the unit, and it has
points of size represents about 250 men.
About 250 men each point.
Yeah.
And then this one has an R on top of the number. What does the R mean?
The name is detachment. Detachment represents a fraction of the regiment or brigade from the Spanish Army.
The R
This was defensive troops.
But what does the R mean? La R, ¿qué significa?
Y la R significa recruits.
Because
low quality.
A big part of the Spanish army was recruits, green troops that were thrown into this situation.
Yeah. Only some units has the B. The B is veteran.
So this is the famous Regimiento Alcántara, right? Batallón Alcántara. Regimiento Alcántara. These guys, like
veteran unit.
They would save a lot of lives, a lot of Spanish lives, but at their cost. They got
heroic.
And they got decimated
episode.
also. Yeah. It's what was the name of the commander of the Regimiento?
Primo de Rivera.
Primo de Rivera. He was related to the
familiar related to the dictator.
And I think he's from Andalusia, Primo de Rivera.
Yeah.
I think I saw a statue.
Was a dictator who reigns the government between 1923.
Yes.
A little after this episode, 1923 to 1930, as a dictator.
So you have in the Spanish side, you have the green troops, which there are a lot of, and then you have a bunch of regular soldiers and like you could say elite for the Regimiento Alcántara, the way that they perform.
And a few elite units, only a few.
Yes, most of them are green. And
a key for the Spanish army is to conserve and to try to not lose the veteran people and hit in concrete moments.
Now let's look at one of the Riffian unit, and I also like the concept that the Spanish units are squares and the Riffians are rectangles, because it sends in the message that these are two completely different belligerents.
Different combat system for each side, different combat tables. The Riffian was much more based on fire, and the Spanish army, some tactics, some maneuver. But the Riffians is a pure fire.
They had sharpshooters, right? They would snipe the Spanish at times. Now this particular unit has a number 6. So that is the number 6 is what, the size of the unit?
Yeah, the size.
The size of the unit, and then this one is Arca Rifeña. So
this was called Arca.
They were divided
each point of Arca represents about 250 men.
Okay,
each point.
So each point is 250 men. So you
similar
can see
similar than Spanish.
The Riffians in this one piece, they have a lot of people concentrated. Now, what I wanted to ask you is, okay, I know that the Spanish move from point to point, and the Riffians move from area to area.
Correct.
Yes.
And only when the Riffian wants to siege a space, they want to siege, for example, this square space. Only these square spaces.
Only they go onto the square spaces.
Maybe sieges. They want to siege.
Otherwise, they have to be in the area.
Here they are joined. But in the zone, inside the Kabila, are dispersed. It's very difficult for the Spanish army to hit they have to search and destroy, but not always.
So the Spanish have to like search, detect them, and destroy them because they are assumed to be spread out in the whole and it's
an opportunity for the Spanish army.
How does that happen in the game?
An opportunity, a key opportunity for the Spanish army is when the Harkas are sieging a space.
Besieging a space,
and the Spanish army managed to have an army, a column. A column was a unity of units, a formation.
A formation of units. Yes.
If the Spanish army achieved to go near the space where the Riffian are besieging, this is the key moment to hit the Harkas.
They're concentrated there.
Concentrated, okay? It's the opportunity, the key opportunity. So the Harkas, when the Spanish army is near the space, they usually refuse the combat.
So they can
similar.
But it's not automatic. Do they have to roll and to see if they are able to avoid combat?
Correct.
Okay, so
it's something similar to the Indian Wars in the United States. It's something similar, no?
So, but the Harkas have that ability. The Spanish, can they avoid combat? The Spanish, they can also.
They avoid combat, refuse combat when it's possible, and they create opportunities for hit. Spaces where there are not many Spanish army, Spanish soldiers.
And each turn represents how much time?
Each turn represents about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
12, 15 days.
So, I see that the Spanish units have the size on the counter. How do they move and how many movement factors do they have?
The cost of the movement is very, very hard. This was infernal terrain, very dry, very many mountains, etc. And the cost for the Spanish army is about 1 or 2 spaces. You make the idea, if 1 space, 2 spaces, step, a route. It's a road who traverse all the map.
We see a road that goes up to most of the map. Yes.
A civilized road, which connects these spaces, and this is a supply route from Melilla to Ventie. The Spanish army tried to use this route to supply their troops, but every other space in the map, as you may see, is hard terrain.
So in one turn they can move any number of spaces along the road?
Yeah, usually the cost for each space, road space, is 1 point of movement, but the movement capacity for the units, the movement factor is between 4 and 6 points.
Okay.
Now the cost of this connection is 1 point. A road connection is 1 point.
Okay, road is
but
1 point.
This connection is an uncivilized road, a simple path.
Primitive road or path.
This is 1.5 point of cost.
Okay, 1.5 those roads. I see.
The Riffian may place guerrillas. Guerrillas are a marker who represents the detachment of the Harkas.
Detaching a small number of troops.
A few rebels, which establish it in the mountain and create a guerrilla who impedes the supply path.
So it's going to impede supply.
Cut the supply, and they want to place the Spanish army in difficulties of supply. They cut the Spanish may place a unit beneath the guerrilla to interdict the guerrilla and make a breach for the supply.
In order to reestablish supply and to interdict the guerrilla.
But the guerrilla for each side.
So I mean, in this type of terrain, supply is
It's key. It's a key.
super important.
It's very important.
So if you are not in supply, what happens?
When the Spanish army is cut with supply,
Yes.
they have these mules, these auxiliary units, mules,
Okay, you got
who
mules.
represent internal supply.
Okay.
It's like internal supply, which is used in the effect of our supply path.
I see.
They have to spend a mule each time a unit has to receive supply without a route.
So if you can't trace a supply line, then you have to expend a mule counter in order for the unit. I don't know, the unit in the same space or within certain spaces to be in
the
supply?
same space. Only the same space.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, after that mule unit is gone, you got to get others onto the board, right?
Right.
It's gonna take some time.
When the Riffians besiege a place, the Spanish army is unsupplied. So he has to spend a mule to be able to resist, to be able to not attrition.
To not suffer attrition because of being out of supply. So how do the sides win in the game?
The victory objectives differs between scenarios and campaign. In the scenarios are based on key consecutions, maybe number of sacks in the map, number of places of camps which have been sacked. The Riffian obtains a loot, and this increments the moral level.
So the Riffians increase morale by looting, and the spaces that have loot are these squared spaces? Those are the ones? Okay.
This one have resources, and the Riff, its time, which is capable of assault and space, he loots and gains morale. Okay. The moral level is the key in this game because both sides have a variable force depending on the moral level. Okay. The more
you mean
high.
the strength of the units is going to be dependent on morale. So when you're going to fight a battle, if morale is high, you're going to get like a boost of the strength. But if morale is low, you're going to have a
correct. You can see a color, red color, orange color, yellow color, and green color.
Okay, so
it's a graduate of the moral level.
So this is going to fluctuate during the game, right?
Yeah. Constantly, the moral level is moving, is changing, depending of the results of the combat, depending on the assaulting places by the Reef, depending of these factors. The moral of each side hostile changes to low moral, less force. There's a modification.
Oh, I see there there's a penalty.
A penalty.
A -1 and a -2.
Exactly. Each side has a modification in the force. Less 1, plus 1. When the moral is high, plus 1.
Yes.
And when the moral is low, minus 1.
Fluctuates from -1 to +1 depending on the morale.
And the Reef have multiplicators, not modificators, but multiplicators. Each point, each Harka point, multiplies by 2 or by 3, depending on the level of the morale.
And that makes sense because as the Riffians were crushing the Spanish, more of the tribes joined in.
More force, more resistance.
More resistance
against the Spanish army.
From different, because even the Riffians belong to different. A
unity.
And I remember reading in the book what happened a lot of times is there were
a leader.
Were even Riffians with the Spanish army that were the guías or scouts. And if things were going bad for the Spanish, they would desert. And sometimes they would even fire upon the same Spanish from where they were.
Change the site and
So it's
some defections.
So the Spanish started to not trust the Riffians that they had in their own army because they were going to be the first ones that were going to stab them.
The game has several events that represent this defection between sides.
And you stated it's a card-driven game, so I see we have cards
Card-driven,
here.
2 types of cards.
Okay.
Strategic cards. You have 2. Each side has 2 cards to play at the beginning of the turn. 2 events for side. Some events are with a flag. The flag represents who is the side which beneficial for the event.
Yeah.
Okay, you may receive 2 events from the contrary. So you have a problem. You have 2 events from the contrary.
So the opposing player may have cards that provide a detrimental or adverse effect to the other player, right?
And you have to play one of these cards.
So
you discard one, you play the other.
Oh, okay. So you take 2 cards and you play one.
Yeah.
Okay.
This event
and sometimes the card that you're going to play is going to hurt you also.
Yeah.
So
maybe
I mean, if you have 2 that hurt
you have to play up a card who have the bad effect for your side.
For example, this particular card says volunteers, patriotic fervor, and the Spanish player receives 2 DT. What's that? Destacamento.
DT is detachment.
2 detachments
Melilla.
of replacements that are available at the box of the
Melilla.
port of Melilla, which we saw here. So that's a good event for them.
This opens the turn. 2 cards from which you select one to play. Another is discarded. Okay, and the other type of cards was the.
These are the strategic cards.
Yeah, the strategic.
Okay. That's the way they work. You draw 2 and you play 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have which ones?
These are the action cards. More operational cards.
Okay.
And it's a typical operation card from another CDGs with the name, the number of operations, and the event.
So you can play it for operations or for the event?
And the event. This is compatible. So it's compatible. This game is compatible to play the card for both elements.
Oh, you can play both.
The points and the event. Yeah.
Okay.
The event, if the event is contrary, is from the other side. You have not to play. You have no the obligation of playing an event contrary.
So if you just want to play the
only
points,
the favorable.
And if you don't want to play the points and just want to play the event, you can do that too.
Correct.
Okay. So this particular one is Abdelkrim, which is the leader.
The leader.
The leader of the whole rebellion, and this one adds the equivalent of 1d6 extra to. Dice que en cada racia o asalto. So in each assault or racia, what's that? Like a skirmish?
The difference between assault is besieging a place.
Oh, an assault is when
it's assault, but racia is an attack to another place, not a square space.
Oh, okay, so
any other space. You can't make a racia against this space because this space is squared.
Yes.
So it requires a siege. But a typical racia is, for example, this combat between tribes, between Harkas inside the Kabila, hit a column or hit a unit that is in a playing space or mountain space. It's a racia. It's a fast hit and an attack without any type of protection for the Spanish army.
So there's 2 types of attack. You have the regular attack would be the racia, and then the siege, which is only applicable to the units that are in these square or fortified spaces. Okay. So how many cards do you receive of the action?
110.
There's 100, yeah, but in a turn, How many?
No,
You have a hand of those cards?
The total deck is 110 cards.
Yes.
Each side receives about between 3 and 5. No
Okay.
more than 5, no less than 3. So there's no many cards in each turn. Each turn develops very fast because it's very interactive, the playing, and it's
And I mean, and it reflects the hectic nature. I mean, once the Riffians attacked across the Rif, the Spanish were in an emergency situation, so they were really responding and responding and responding.
Yeah. The Spanish army begins the campaign very dispersed. Positions, call it blockhouse positions in the mountains with very few soldiers, with some artillery batteries.
Yes.
These batteries of artillery may be captured by the Riffian player. The Riffian player, for example, has at the beginning of the campaign has some artillery batteries captured.
Yes.
Okay, they are important because they have shift the combat in favor of one or another side, and the blockhouse. This was called blockhouse. This was weak
fortification. Yeah, I mean, but
very weak with very few soldiers, and they are war besieged. For example, this space was aquí, Igeriben is the name of a space very near from Annual, and this situation is the Rif besieging
that blockhouse.
Yes,
I remember
this space begins the game unsupplied.
Unsupplied. So I remember in the book another pattern that you would see is that it was a critical decision for people in a blockhouse or in a fortified town to say, do we make a column and make a run for it, or do we stay another day?
Yeah.
And sometimes they would receive false reports. Sometimes they would receive reports that were incorrect, that there was a column headed their way and there was nothing.
Certainly, the Spanish army may gain immunity.
Yes.
Immunity. How they gain immunity in a place, in a space? Is of course the Rif has a capacity of visiting sites.
Yes.
But this capacity was limited. When the Spanish army is capable of joint more than 5 units.
Yes.
5 units, for example, these have main units, no auxiliary. This is auxiliary. The mules, the artillery, main units, line units, line units.
Yes.
This is the line units.
And when you say 5, is it 5 counters
5.
Or a total of 5 there in the number?
5. No points.
Not points. 5 units.
This is the key for the Spanish army to avoid being besieged.
Okay.
The Rif, the maximum number of harkas which may besiege a site, a place, is 6. 6 is the maximum number of harkas which may attack, may besiege, may have a razzia. And so if the Spanish army is able to join 5 units, more than 5 units,
they won't attack.
The Rif may not besiege.
That represents more like the Riffian overall strategy. They weren't going to risk a pitched battle.
The Riffian
a lot of forces.
have to look forward to weak spaces, to hit in weak spaces when the Spanish army is not present. Only is a guarnison or a
garrison.
A garrison.
To pick off all those garrisons and blockhouses that have few people.
A column is a formation, a column, which has defensive pluses, defensive advantage.
Yes.
For the Spanish army is very useful to move in columns. They are more protected, they are more capable of counterattack, etc.
Okay.
A key for the Spanish army is, for example, to form a column.
And is there like a requirement in order to form a column?
Yeah, form a column. The units exit the map and place are placed
Oh, you got a display over
in
there.
a display. Yeah, it's a display. It's easy to see. A display
Got a column display.
which
Okay.
represent the units inside this column.
So to form a column, do you have to have a minimum of units or something?
The maximum, like the columns,
Yes.
have a maximum of 10 points of force.
Oh, 10 points.
10 strength points.
They use the points.
More, plus the auxiliary doesn't count in this
Okay.
in this limit. It's 10 points of force, the maximum. Okay.
You know what? One thing, I know when playing these games when you have units and displays like this, you know what I do at home?
Yeah.
And I've given this idea to a couple of people. Have you seen like the blocks that they're using for Checkpoint Bellota?
Yeah.
I mean, those are huge, but there are blocks that are the same size of this, but a block.
Yeah.
And what it's good is, for example, you put this column counter on the block, and that visually, because right now it's a counter like any other, and it's
At the beginning of the process, of the signing process,
You put a block there.
I thought,
and
this
visually you know exactly
Yeah.
there's it's a different type of formation there. You have a column there, which is
it
different
was
from
an
other
idea
units.
which was in discussion with Carlos
Okay.
Diaz, the NAC coordinator of design, and we decided to a counter in not a block, because this game, for Carlos' opinion, in the Carlos' opinion, he prefers more the counters.
Yeah, but what I was suggesting is no, you use the counters, but you only use the blocks like to
Only for
to
the
mark
columns or formations.
Imagine that instead of this marker, you have a block marker with and it says column. How many columns? Maximum.
Maximum six columns.
It's just 6 blocks.
The limit of 6 columns is a problem for the Spanish player, because at the beginning, of course, there are a few units. It's not able to join more than three columns. Is the median of number of columns in the map. But from turn 6 and beyond, the Spanish army received very many reinforcements from Melilla. And he needs column. He needs join formation.
When I get the game, I buy it or something, I'm gonna use my 6 blocks, because I do that all the time. I don't know. There's a game, very famous game called the Civil War by Victory Games. It's an old game, and you have armies and you have regular forces. Regular forces are a stack with a leader, but the armies can have more. Can have even additional leaders and more units. And what I did a video on that, and what I did is I used
your video about the game, no?
About the game, and I used a little block.
Yeah.
And the thing is, on the sides,
you are a master of,
thank you.
of auxiliary material for the game.
But let's suppose that tomorrow morning,
the card sequence of play cards.
the sequence of play. But let's suppose in that game I put the name of the army of the Potomac. In each side of the block there was a sticker, so you could see it said Army of the Potomac.
Visually, it's more.
And on the top
brilliant,
of the block, you would put the leader in command, the counter there. So let's suppose that they change their mind and say, yeah, let's go for it.
No, it's true. It's true.
Then you have a block. You can have stickers for 4 sides.
Yeah.
And then the top saying column 7 or column 1, column 2.
Yeah.
So that
this game has no leaders. I thought to include leaders, but in this campaign, with the exception of Abdelkrim was the main leader from the Ruthian side. The leaders frequently they died. They died. Many leaders died. Spanish leaders.
Leaders, yeah. You read that book, it is really depressing.
Overall, they resist about 1 month of campaign.
I always read the book and said, and this commander died. Silvestre was the
most famous
but even
general.
the less senior lieutenant that was defending this blockhouse, and he died. And there's a statute for the lieutenant.
If we have include Silvestre in this game, they have 1 turn of influence. very few.
Yeah, Silvestre, he was. He was here at Anual.
He died in Anual. Yeah.
So it's a terrific book, but it's really depressing because it was They just ambushed the whole. I think they lost like 20,000 men.
Yeah, about
Approximately,
20,000 in Nanual.
And we're talking about dead.
Another brutal siege was in Monte Arruid.
Oh, Monte Arruid, yes.
This is the more brutal siege. When the Spanish army retreats across the spaces, they tried to join a force in Monte Arruid, about 50,000. This was more numerous. Soldiers
more losses, significant
more
losses
in Monte Arruid. They are besieging the place around 10 days of siege in this place.
And where was the furthest extent of the Riffians as to Melilla? How far did they? How close to Melilla did they get?
The Spanish army received the reinforcements, and they have a concentration of troops, an enormous concentration of troops in Melilla.
Yes.
While Monte Arruid was besieged, but they don't want the general of the force, the Spanish force.
They didn't want to take a risk.
They was very cautious.
Overcautious, yeah.
Because the troops they received was green, was recruits
a lot of
from
green
the Spanish
troops.
Army and volunteers, etc.
And if you lose Melilla, you lose the whole thing.
Yeah,
you lose the
Melilla was near to fall.
Key, yeah.
Was near to fall. The Riffian move across the territory and move near Melilla. Was very near to be besieged. Very near from the siege. And the Spanish army was Melilla concentrated, and they were cautious of send a column, in the rescue column, to Monte Arruid, because they are troops with very few preparation, very low preparation, low ammunition, etc. So they wait in Melilla for about 1 month before launch the attack, launch the deployment of the force.
I see. And so in
the
this
Spanish is losing the control. The Spanish
transmitting here, showing the game, and my 24-hour pass for the high-quality internet elapsed right there. So I had another pass, so I just input the password. So these are the perils of what do you call it? Live streaming. So we're back here. Let's get back. Saludos. Sí, vamos ahora.
Fuera de cámara,
Sí.
media hora, ya fuera de cámara te enseño cómo va un turno. Al
Está
principio, que es fácil de seguir, hay un tutorial de media hora más o menos.
bien,
Cómo funciona.
está bien, seguro. Ok, aquí está otra vez. So we're working again, we're back. And that was the 24 hours expired, so that's what happens. And so I apologize for that, but for the rest of the day, I hope we don't have any problems. So
Yeah, and one important thing.
you were explaining to me there's another way that the Riffians can harm the Spanish.
This is
It has to do with that marker.
a sack marker,
Yes.
which represents the sacking of the space from the reef.
So this is the sack
The reef
marker. Yes.
sack the space and run. they know not.
Okay, this is the sack, and they get loot.
They don't remain in the space. The
Okay.
Riffian sack and
they leave.
to look another place to sack.
Okay.
They gain moral resources when sacked, and the Spanish army is forced to send a unit escorting an engineer.
So those are precious and few. The engineer units,
in
right?
order to repair. Repair is remain here and play an action to rebuild or this space.
So what does that represent? They're rebuilding the fortification?
The building, the infrastructure.
The infrastructure, okay.
The resources, buried the dead people. No?
And how many engineers do you have for the whole day?
Very few.
Very few.
This is a key. You may lose an engineer in a battle if they lose the escort. If they remain
if they're by themselves with the Riffians, that's it.
In solitaire, they are eliminated.
Yes.
They need, in every moment, they need a unit escorting. Okay. If in a battle there are no units are eliminated, and the engineer remains, only the engineer remains, they are eliminated.
So they're very important. They're very important, but very fragile, and you have to guard them. And again, the Spanish don't have a lot of veteran troops, so
it's a constant fight of sacking and rebuilding and regaining the control.
Yes.
Of the kabilas, something like that.
So, let me ask you, what stage is the game at this time? What stage? I know it's in the P500, but I don't know how NAC is handling the P500 these days.
It's, the final of 2024. At the end of this year.
At the end of this year, so they intend to publish it at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Okay, it's great. So, if by any chance that I know NAC sent me an advance prototype copy of The Other Side of the Hill. So, if you ever get an advance copy, if you can send it to me, and I don't know if the game
I would like
is going to have most games have an extended example of play. So if you have an extended example of play, I'll be more than happy to make a video on it, because I think that's
I do have an extended example of play,
because I think that shows really like the gist of the structure of the turn and what
you may see the reality of the mechanics of the drama. No?
And they're very helpful for the people to decide if they want to purchase the game. For me, I like the game for various reasons. I like it because of the topic. It's first a topic that is not there's not many games on this, and specifically, I know that the magazine Alea made a game, but it was a
tactical level.
At the tactical level. This is strategic. The Rift War. And you have a total of 22 turns here.
No, the design cuts the final turn in the 14 turns.
14 turns.
14 turns.
So
during the design, during the play testing, we saw that the turn maximum 14 was an appropriate turn to finish.
And you told me, so the campaign game will have 14 turns. And you're going to have how many scenarios?
3 scenarios.
3 scenarios. And the shortest one is what?
The shortest is 5 turns.
5 turns.
An intermediate scenario, partial of the campaign, is about 8 turns.
Okay.
So the duration, the time of playing is about 5 hours, 6 hours.
5-6 hours of the campaign game? So it plays pretty fast, I mean, for the whole game?
It's pretty fast, it's very dynamic, very interactive, and the game has two levels of mechanics. One very well known is the mechanics more familiar with Path of Glory or
the card-driven mechanic.
This is a very well known mechanic. Very familiar with another games, and another level very innovative, which is every point we have talked between them. A level of innovation in mechanics, unique mechanics, which are not present in another games.
And I like it very much that the Riffians moved from Kabila to Kabila, and then you have the Spanish going from point to point. And I think
people likes very much this factor of two universe,
it's
universes to the player.
Yes.
The reef moving from Kabila to Kabila. Inside the Kabilas is they refuse the combat, and only hit when it's prepared. Is the opportunity to hit and assure a good result.
So thank you for explaining us the game again, and I wish you the best. I'm going to be backing whatever campaign for this game anyway, because I like the topic. I like card-driven games.
The tension.
I like that it's a game you can play in one sitting, and it's a really fascinating subject when you think about it, because it's you only hear about this this conflict in books. Now you're going to see it.
This was a conflict, something obscure and dark.
Obscure, because especially in Spain, nobody, it's not something that is celebrated, because it was specifically at the beginning, it was a chaos. It was a massacre in Anual, also here at Monte Arruit. It was awful. But eventually, I know the story is that eventually Spain was able to bring more troops eventually and pacify the area. And that's where you got the troops that
only from the 100th anniversary of the event in 2021, 2 years atrás. The people was interested in this campaign. They will read books, edited books, new books related to this campaign.
And this campaign has like a connection to the Spanish Civil War, because what happened was that the Spanish troops that were battle tested at the Rif, these troops later were the Spanish Army of Africa, right? And that's Franco's army. So and they had a huge advantage over the army that was on the Republican side, which practically had no combat experience. So it had an impact, because that's where eventually the nationalist troops that came from Africa got their battle experience, was fighting the Riffians.
Yeah, in the game you can see the evolution of the Spanish army from an army of volunteers to an army of professional army, almost professional army. The Spanish army is reinforcing constantly from the 6 turns beyond, is reinforcing with troops, more professional troops, the legion troops, more hard soldiers, more better commands.
Yes.
Okay? And you can see how the Spanish army is constantly changing,
developing and evolving
to a more professional army.
Well, Luis, thanks for showing us the game. We're gonna keep in touch. I know you have another one, which is Ebro, which is also, that's a Spanish Civil War battle. A huge. That was like it was the biggest battle in the whole
the greatest battle in the Civil War. Spanish
and it's
Civil
fascinating
War.
Because it starts with a
1930
with a Republican offensive, but then it dies down. And
yes, that game is based on the mechanics of area impulse system.
That's the area impulse.
And all mechanics.
I'm also a fan of those.
Monkey's Gamble, Market Garden, Breakout Normandy, and recently had raised new games with this mechanic, like Jerusalem.
There's Jerusalem.
Siege of Jerusalem.
And Mike Rinella is one of the designers that has done most of them. And now he came up with a solitaire. It's not area impulse, because there's no impulse, because it's just one player, but it's an area game. You play solitaire that's advanced on Stalingrad, and he's coming with a Manila game, Assault on Manila. So that is also an area. Area impulse is evolving also. Very interesting. I love area impulse games because they look beautiful, because the map is not distorted with a hex grid or something. So it's
and one of my innovations in about this system of Rinella system classic of area impulse is you activate formations, not areas.
Okay.
It's a very important change, innovation. With the core of the system is the same. The core of the system, the combat system, the tables of movement and combat, but the main innovation in the mechanic is
You activate
the
formation.
activation of formations.
Okay.
It seems me more realistic
Okay.
than the area impulse. Why area? Which represents
Yes,
activate an area is
yeah.
something no, very
It's
strange.
not. Yeah.
With the activation of the formation, each formation have about 12 counters,
Yes.
12 units, and no matter where is the map in the map, the unit, you may activate all of them.
Okay, I see.
It allows to coordinate better the units, the formations, and has a very interactive system with alternating activation between the players. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. So we'll be also taking a look at Ebro. It's here. So thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks, Jose.
Take care. And folks, I'm gonna take a brief pause, and I'll be back pretty soon. So thanks for sticking around. We had that little hiccup there, so I'll see you in the next one very soon. Thank you.